Hi everyone, it is Financial Sharktress and welcome to Money Monday. I am so flustered today that I totally forgot my intro video, so you got a weird little moment of me being out of it and confused, but yeah, I just did it out of order, and so I'm a little flustered, but here's the deal, and I'll tell you why I'm flustered. So if you are friends with me on Facebook, you know that right now has been a really tough time. And one of the reasons that it is a tough time is that my pet, one of my lovebirds, Merlin, became very ill a few weeks ago, probably around 2 weeks ago, and he passed away on Friday. And so I am grieving. I am, mourning the loss of this wonderful little bird who was really amazing and a huge part of my life. Um, and it it brings back memories also of a few years ago when my dog Fabio passed away after battling cancer for a while. Um, and so I am no stranger to unexpected pet expenses. And I am vegan and I care about animals, and I became vegan for animals. And so my pets are family members to me, and they're super important in my life. And I will do anything to make sure that they are okay. And I know that a lot of you out there are like me, even if you're not vegan. Um, but your pet is a family member to you, and you are willing to go to crazy lengths to keep that, or what other people would think are crazy lengths, to make sure that they're okay and to keep them alive. Um, and I am that person, right? I was shown it over and over when my dog Fabio was diagnosed with cancer. There was no question in my mind that I was going to try and fight it. And that, and even before that, like when he was a puppy, um, I don't even remember. It was something like a $2,000 vet bill for something that we're not quite sure if it was something that he ate or whatever it was, or but it ended up being a quite substantial vet bill, and that was a no-brainer for me. It at that time. He was a puppy, yeah, it was a no-brainer. But even later in life, when he was 13 years old and he was diagnosed with cancer, it was still something that I was willing to do. Like, I was going to try to give him the best life no matter what. And same thing with Merlin. When he was diagnosed with a genetic illness that was not curable, but I really believed that we were going to save him, that we were going to do anything and everything that we could to make sure that we tried, that I tried, that whatever he needed, whatever the vet said, we were going to do. And unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, with Fabio, he did go into remission at one point, and but he was too old and could not handle it, and he ended up, you know, dying a few years ago, but with Merlin, it was much, much faster and it was very sudden. And in both cases, like you want to do, not only do you want to be able to pay those vet bills, but you want to do what's right for the pet in terms of, are you going to do cremation? Is there going to be a memorial piece? Are you going to have, little clay paw prints in your house? And those are all things that are unexpected expenses. And it's really hard when, right? Like for humans, we know of a lot of humans that go into debt with unexpected expenses, and especially when it comes to like health expenses. And we in general usually have some type of insurance. And that is not always the case with pets. And for pets, honestly, it's not always worth it to buy the insurance. So there are pet insurances. And how they work is when your pet is younger, they will be cheaper. And most of them do not cover pre-existing conditions. So you can't, let's say, have a pet get diagnosed with cancer and then take out an insurance policy on them. They probably will not cover anything. But even in those cases, like there's a deductible, and the pet insurance might only cover, depending on what kind of insurance you get and what level of insurance you pay for. You are paying a monthly fee upfront. There is usually some kind of deductible, and they usually only pay for a certain portion of the bill. So maybe they cover 80% of the bill, and you're still liable for the other 20%. So these are all things to think about when you're considering saving for unexpected pet expenses. So if you've got a young animal and you don't have enough savings right now to cover a hefty vet bill, and having the insurance gives you like a peace of mind, then I would say go with the pet insurance, right? If you can afford, usually I think for dogs, it's probably somewhere in the range of $50-$60 a month, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less for like a younger animal. Um, for cats, it's probably a little bit less than that. Different pets, it's different pricing, but generally, if you can swing that monthly payment and that feels comfortable and safe for you, and you don't have a block of savings put away, like if you're watching me, you're probably working on your emergency fund right now. You're probably working on your FU fund. I'm going to talk to you about like if those funds are not fully filled yet, if you feel like you don't have that money saved up, then think about pet insurance. That if you are going to have like one of these major expenses where within the last 2 weeks of Merlin's life, I think we spent probably $2,500 on a little lovebird, and I am not complaining at all. Like I would happily spend that money again and again and again to try to save him. And if you're like me, you would feel the same, you probably feel the same way. Like you are willing to, money is not an issue at that point. We are talking about a life. We are talking about a family member. If you're like that and you don't have that kind of money just squirreled away somewhere for these things that come up, then maybe pet insurance is something that you want to think about. So again, like if your animal is still young and you don't have enough savings to cover it, and just having it gives you some sort of peace of mind, then then I would suggest you get it. If your pet is already, oh, and I just want to say hello to Jen. Thank you for sending love. She said, sending love to you and Penny right now. I hear her. Yes, Penny is my other lovebird, which was Merlin's bonded mate. And she's going through a really hard time right now, losing him. And so she is very vocal. And you might have heard both of them in the background of some of my videos because they really liked to be a part of it. They love hearing what's going on and answering, and so now Penny it has taken up that mantle for the both of them, and she's like voicing her opinions and on everything. But when going back to the pet insurance, when is not a good time to get pet insurance? I would say if your pet is a senior, because it's going to be more expensive, or has health problems that are not going to be covered, right? Like pre-existing conditions that are not going to be covered, or a big vet bill is not going to be a hardship for you, right? So if you've got some money squirreled away and like it's not your complete emergency fund and you can still function, you still, we want to have 6 months of, if you lose your job and there's no money coming in, I would love for you, my dream for all of you is to have 6 months at least worth of money to cover your expenses. So if you've got that 6 months plus a little bit more, and a vet bill would not be a financial burden to you, then pet insurance isn't necessarily for you. And then there's the other thing is like, how risk averse are you? If you are okay with risk and you'd rather take on the risk that, there might be an expensive vet bill sometime down the line, rather than you pay for an insurance that, frankly, you might never use, or you might use very little of it. You might end up paying thousands and thousands of dollars into something that you might not use, which, again, like that's the game of insurance, right? For your health insurance, you pay I know I pay thousands of dollars each month into it, and I don't always get to use it, but I know that it's there if something does happen. So if you're okay with taking that risk, if your animal already has health issues, or it is a senior animal, or you've got some savings squirreled away, then I would recommend against pet insurance. Now, what do you do if you decide I'm not going to have pet insurance? Because here's the deal, like, you can decide I don't want to have pet insurance, but I still want to put, and this is what I recommend, right? I'm a big fan of having separate saving accounts for different things and different goals, because I believe that if you do it like that, you are earmarking that money for a purpose. You are giving that money a job, right? So why not, if you're in one of these categories where pet insurance just doesn't make sense for you, then why not create a savings account that has the goal of funding unexpected pet expenses? And you can nickname it the name of your pet. And I want you to just put the money that you go out, get a quote on what it would cost to get your pet insurance. And instead of paying that to the insurance company, why not put that money into a high yield savings account, right? Right now, and I love nerdwallet.com. Nerdwallet.com is like amazing for me. I love it because it compares all of the different things that I don't want to have to go to every single bank website and compare. But right now, online high interest savings accounts are giving like 4.5% interest. Why not take the money that every month, instead of paying that insurance bill, take that money and put it into a high interest savings account and save up for those unexpected pet expenses. And within a few years, you will be able to cover these things that come up, whether it be, a vet bill, or whether it be the memorial that you want to give your pet, right? Because it's not cheap, right? We know this from humans and animals. Like there are costs associated with end of life, right? There are cremation costs and I'm just going to talk about pets right now. There are cremation costs. There is, if you want an urn, if you want to do something else besides that, like for our precious little bird, we chose to have a local artist create a glass sun catcher in his colors out of his ashes. And that is something that's going to be super special for us. We decided to get clay claw prints. And that there are fees associated with all of these things. But because we were able to, and I have been able to set aside money for these things to happen, there was no other option in my mind. There was no I'm not going to do this. I wanted to make sure that I gave my pet the best care and also the best end of life, and the best memorial that I could. Like, I chose a company that will plant a tree in his honor. There are things that I felt were important to me to honor his memory and to frankly try to make the world a little bit of a better place in doing it as well. And there are fees associated with all of that. So the best way to do this, right? If you got a young pet, if you don't have the savings right now, if you feel like you need the comfort that an insurance policy brings, then think about getting the pet insurance. But if those things don't apply to you, take that money that you were going to put into the pet insurance and put it into a high yield savings account. And if nothing happens to your pet, then that money just grows. And if you don't need it, then you can use it for something else. You can, maybe your pet is healthy until the last day. And guess what? That's amazing. And you'll use whatever you need to from that fund for the cremation and the end of life services, and the memorial services, and then whatever is left over you can put into your emergency fund. But if you do need that money, I want it to be there for you. And so whether you choose to do it by paying someone for pet insurance and having a deductible and allowing, because here's the honest truth, right? Let's say you decide to put this money away instead of paying for pet insurance. And I'm just going to talk about all the possibilities here, right? Let's say you decide to put this money away instead of going for the pet insurance. It's a risk also, because what happens if in 3 months something major happens, right? You might end up not having enough money in that account to cover it. But if your pet is young and healthy, or you have a little money that it won't be a huge burden, put that money away, because with time it'll grow, and with time you will have enough money to cover whatever might arise. So, figure out where you lie on that spectrum, figure out what feels the best to you, what you feel the safest with, right? Because this at the bottom line here is we are talking about taking care of something that you consider a family member. You consider something that this is something that is important to you. And so if you, whether you want to rely on insurance or rely on savings, that's your choice. But those are the ways that I recommend thinking about saving for these unexpected pet expenses, right? Either do the pet insurance or put that money away, put whatever money you were going to spend on pet insurance, and feel free to go out there and get a quote, right? Do it. Like if they want you to pay $67 a month, put $67 a month into a savings account. Whatever it is, put that equal amount into a savings account and make your own savings for the pet, because when things happen, I don't want you to go into credit card debt. I don't want you to have to do a payment plan in which you end up paying even more because there's interest involved, right? Because that's also possible. Some other options is, let's say you're doing everything right or you haven't started saving and something comes up. There are a lot of vets understand this, and there are financial assistance packages. And I would recommend looking into those. And do not be afraid to ask. Closed mouths do not get fed. It is not tacky. It is not wrong. It is not, something that you should be ashamed of. If you qualify for financial assistance and you need it and you don't have the money saved up, please ask about it and see if there is something that they can do. A lot of times they can negotiate with you. A lot of times they can reduce some of the fees. A lot of times they can work with you and figure out a treatment that costs less. Like, be open to all of those options. And the only way to know about those options is to talk about them. So we have to get out of this idea that like we shoulder the burden by ourselves. We can open up our mouths and we can ask for help. And it's a very tough thing to do, but it's something that is perfectly okay, and everybody needs help, and nobody goes through life on their own. We all use the assistance of others to be able to accomplish what we want and what we need in life. In that same vein, if their financial assistance is not possible, you don't have the money saved up yet, you didn't have insurance, you can reach out to family and friends. You can start a GoFundMe. There are other ways to reach out to your community and allow your community to support you. And they might not be able to cover the entire thing. But, and I've seen this actually done successfully before. I personally have donated to several friends that started GoFundMes for pets that needed, they just weren't able to shoulder that burden on their own, and they were going to go into debt from it. And they reached out to their community, and I was a part of that community, and we responded with, we will help. So there is that option as well. Like, if you need the help, it is okay to ask, and people will answer. I will not sit here and tell you that the entire bill will get paid. But guess what? Whatever gets donated to you, whatever gets negotiated down from your bill, that is still better than the position that you were in to start with. So that is my message for this Money Monday. I'm sorry that it came with a little bit of a sad story. But that's just what is happening in my life right now. And I really love that, because you guys get to see me every week, you get to see the real life stuff that happens, right? I don't sugarcoat things, and I don't hide from you. And I tell you what's going on in my life, and how that's affecting me monetarily, how that's affecting me emotionally. And I'm on here every week. And so when things like this come up for me, that I get like a strong feeling like, oh, what if I wasn't in this position? What if I needed the help? What if I hadn't saved? Like, my audience needs to know this. My audience needs to be able to take these steps so that they're not in a position between choosing either that their pet is not going to get the care that they need, or that they go into debt. I don't want those to be your only two choices. So please, if you're watching this now, or you're watching this on the replay, or anywhere else, feel free to comment, like, share, tell me your stories, because I do want to hear from you. And I want to hear about what you think, whether what you want to do and what you're planning on doing. And I also want you to take action. These are things that you can start today. And if you've watched me for a while, then you know I love automatic transfers. I love online saving banks with high interest rates. And I love automatic transfers from my checking account. So just like the pet insurance would be an automatic transfer from your account, I want you to do an automatic transfer into a high interest savings account, and that will be the way that you save, if you don't choose any of the other methods we talked about. So on that note, I'm going to sign off for tonight. I hear Penny right now calling me to come downstairs and play with her and keep her company so that she hurts a little less after the passing of her bonded mate. And so I'm gonna go and do that. But I hope you guys take this to heart. I hope that this is something that you internalize and think about and put into action, because every living creature deserves a good life. And if you've chosen to have one of these and to call it your own, I want you to have the best opportunity to give it the best life that you possibly can. So on that note, have an amazing Money Monday. Make sure that this video gets out to who it needs to go to. And I will see you next week for another episode, and we'll talk about something else happening in my life. Have a great night. Bye, sharks.